Hello and happy Friday, and thanks for tuning in to RadioFreeRhinecliff.org. And this show in particular, correct me if I'm Norm, I'm your host, Norm, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight with Vicki Haak.
Hi.
Vicki, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I've known you like ever since I moved to town like 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
I think because you lived behind where I was living.
Correct. Yeah.
And you live actually in one of those four houses?
Yeah, they call them the Four Sisters.
Right. What's the story with that?
I think that's the story.
That's it.
Four houses that all have the same, facade and
Right.
footprint, even though over the years some have been modified. From circa 1860, and I think a builder just built the four houses, and it's not necessarily that there were four sisters, but that
Right.
the houses are called the Four Sisters.
Huh. We
Yeah.
should have a competition to make up a better story than that.
I know. We'll have to work on that.
Four horrible sisters.
Yes, right.
So as a builder, he got one set of plans. He's like, I don't need to pay an architect again.
Right,
You're just
exactly.
going to build this thing four times. And they're
Yeah.
gorgeous houses.
They're sweet. They're really sweet. Yes.
And have any of them been sort of very modified from the original plans?
With regard to the footprint, there might be some additions, I think, on one of them, but all of the inside, the insides have definitely been modified over the years. When I moved into ours, which is the most easterly, it was an apartment. So there was an upstairs and downstairs. And I guess prior to that, it had literally been called the Animal House because folks, when they find out that we live there, they would say, "Oh, I remember that. That was the Animal House. Is there? I don't know. Is there a rug in the back bedroom or And I'm like, "Yeah, no, that rug isn't there anymore.
Nasty
Thank God."
couch still in the corner.
Yeah, really.
Is the disco ball still there in the
Right.
black light?
Yeah. So we, when we purchased it, because we rented first, purchased it, had a tenant, and then decided to, convert it back to one family.
Right.
So.
And when did you move in there?
So I rolled into Rhinebeck in 1986 with a U-Haul, a Army cot, and a English Springer Spaniel named Fred.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
And was your dad or somebody in your family in the Army or the Navy or something?
Oh, no, it was just, well, my dad was in the Navy, but it was just
Right.
one of those things where it seemed like, I call it an Army cot, but it's one of those fold-out metal cots.
Oh,
with
right, the metal ones.
like a 1/4 inch.
Right. No, we
know,
had the fold-out
mattress.
metal ones, probably from Sears Roebuck, but also the green canvas and wooden framed
Oh,
ones
no,
that were
no.
Army surplus
No.
and really not very comfortable.
No, mine wasn't comfortable, especially with an English Springer Spaniel sleeping with me.
I haven't even seen a cot in so many years.
Yeah.
It was one of those things I think as a kid I thought that all grown-ups had.
Yeah.
Because all my aunts and uncles had them. If you go visit, they'll pull out the cots.
Yeah, you didn't have those blow-up beds. You had these cots that
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
guests would stay on. And,
Yeah.
they would kind of assure that they wouldn't stay too long.
And you judge your aunts and uncles by how nice the cot was.
Right, exactly.
So 1986, you had a cot and a spaniel.
Yeah.
named Fred, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And why did you roll into Rhinebeck?
I had been working in Rhinebeck at the First National Bank of Rhinebeck way back then. And frankly, just needed to get out of the situation. And one of the local attorneys offered me an apartment. So I made the move.
And where were you in this situation? In what town?
Oh, Kingston. Thank you.
Your mind went to this whole other place.
Yeah, really.
Well, I kept telling them I needed
You're right.
needed some changes, but no. So you were in Kingston. Where in Kingston?
At that point in time, I was living on Saukhill Ruby Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
There's a pizza place right there.
Oh, I wouldn't
Alex
know. That was like
Bun's
40 years
Salad.
ago.
Yeah. That's a crazy, when I think of Saukhill Ruby Road, I think of the big bend in Saukhill there. And were you up towards Ruby?
That was more towards the Kingston part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruby's a funny little place.
Yeah.
And how did you get there?
That's a whole other hour. Okay.
Well, where were you raised?
I grew up in Wappingers.
Right.
Born on Long Island, grew up in Wappingers, and just kind of made it up the river to got a job at the First National Bank of Rhinebeck.
Uh-huh.
And just seemed right that if I was looking for a new place and a new start, that I'd try Rhinebeck.
Right.
So, and it was a different community back then, you know.
How is so? What do you think were the biggest differences between now and then?
Well, I mean, frankly, a smaller population, and it just seemed that there were a lot of younger folks in their mid 20s to early 30s that were planting roots there. Not necessarily marriage or family or anything like that. That wound up coming, but there was just a really great group of people that were discovering each other. You had the Star Bar.
Right.
You know, you had Upstate Films. I think at that point in time, Winter Sun, Summer Moon was coming in. So you could see that the dynamic of the community was changing. And but it was still a real hometown type of community.
Right. And you were like late 20s or 30?
Yeah, late 20s.
And there were lots of other late 20s, early 30s people.
Yeah, I would say mid 20s to mid 30s. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing the demographic because I imagine the population here average is a lot older now.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we've aged, and
It's
and
your
yes,
yeah,
and there has
you.
yeah, right. Yeah, a fair amount of friends. Ultimately wound up getting married and maybe moved out of town, had families, but then there were some diehards like Spiro and myself that stayed here.
Right.
Yeah.
But you moved into this house, the easternmost of the Four Sisters.
Yeah. Well, I had an apartment before I moved into that house.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Where was the apartment?
Oh, it was still on East Market Street. So
Okay.
it was 118 East Market Street, I think.
Okay.
It's the building that sits like right, the apartment building that sits right up on the sidewalk, a couple doors down from where the deli used to be. The deli that's now an apartment building.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Which is South Parsonage and Market Street.
Yep.
Huh. So you moved in there. You're a single woman, fresh out of like some situation we
Yeah.
won't discuss in Kingston,
Yeah.
Kingston Ruby, Sauk Hill Ruby area.
Yeah.
And did you know Spiro when you moved here?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with a smile on my face, tell the story. How did you meet this guy?
Okay, so
Because you all been together for a long time now.
yeah. So if I moved into town, it was shortly after I moved into town that I met Spiro. So we've been together for 39 years.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you remember where and how you met this guy?
Absolutely.
Oh,
He
let's-
loves telling the story more than I do, but I was a teller in the bank,
Uh-huh.
and
First
First
Bank.
National Bank, Rhinebeck, which is now M&T.
Uh-huh.
And we, sorry. I had gotten a job as the comptroller of the bank. And so I guess he and a friend would go into the bank, and Spiro had asked about me, and our mutual friend informed him that I was married. And then months later, our mutual friend informed him that I might not be married anymore. And at that point in time, I was now upstairs in the second floor. So our friend, Steve Lyons, I don't know if any of you guys know him. He's a
No.
wonderful guy. He's in Florida now. He and Spiro went up the stairs while the tellers were frantically trying to call me to say, there are two men running up the stairs, bar the door. And Steve introduced me to Spiro. We went out that Saturday, and
Wait, so like Steve just couldn't wait to introduce you to Spiro? They're like jogging up the stairs. He's grabbing Spiro by the ear. You got to meet this fabulous woman.
well, I don't know if I put it that way, but
But they were running upstairs too.
well, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it was sweet. It was sweet.
I love that. He probably said, she just got divorced. She's not going to last long. We need to woo her immediately. So you're there. Behind the bulletproof glass, or not? You're
Not.
working as a teller, and these. Is that right?
Well, at that point in time, I was, upstairs, and I had a desk
in a
job.
cubicle.
Yeah.
Doing the comptroller stuff. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
numbers.
And so they come in, and Steve says, "Hey, Vicki, I want to introduce you to this guy."
Yeah,
And he had seen you before.
yeah, yeah.
Did you remember having seen him before?
Absolutely not.
No.
No,
Is he listening tonight?
no. He's actually in Utah skiing.
Oh, come on, Spiro.
Yeah.
Well, it's internet radio. He could be listening.
Yeah. Well, internet and Spiro are
Oh,
it's like oil
there you
and
go.
water.
So Steve says, "I want you to meet this guy, Spiro."
Mm-hmm.
And what'd you think?
Well, I really wasn't at a point in being interested in anybody. You kind
Right.
of go through those stages.
You'd been divorced for a day and a half.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah. So the body wasn't quite cold yet. And so I don't know, he was nice, and we went on a date. And that's back when, a date included the Rhinecliff Hotel.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right down the street here in Rhinecliff.
Yep. So we went and met at the Star Bar, and then went to dinner in Poughkeepsie, and then came back up to Rhinecliff, the Rhinecliff Hotel.
So he comes into your cube with the Steve guy and says, like, maybe we could go out sometime?
Yeah.
We exchanged phone numbers. He called, and this was the date. Star Bar, dinner in Poughkeepsie, and then back to the Rhinecliff Hotel.
Yeah. Simple. Easy.
Oh, sounds like a great date, though. and I'm guessing he drove
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and opened the door for you.
Yeah, he's a gentleman.
Yeah. Do you remember where you ate in Poughkeepsie?
I don't even think it's there now.
Right.
Something River Station, maybe, or I don't know.
Right.
So, yeah.
And so the first date went well. No.
Well enough.
Snafus.
Yeah.
And he made a. Did he ask you for a second date before the first date was over?
I think we went out on a Saturday, and then on Sunday I had to take a business trip to Minneapolis. So there was a pause.
Right.
Yeah. So that morning when I was going out to catch a plane, there was a bouquet of roses in the bushes in front of the house.
That is so sweet.
Yeah, he knows how to work it. So
And how long was this trip to Minneapolis?
I think it was probably just a week.
Right.
Yeah,
A
it was
lifetime
short.
away from this new romance.
Well, I don't know if it was a romance yet.
But it sounded like the roses got you thinking. a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
And in any recollection of what you were doing in Minneapolis?
Yeah, since I was working for the bank, it was a banking conference. So, yeah, just boring banking stuff.
Right. But, conferences that draw young people from all over the country.
Not bankers.
You saw where I was going. You cut that right off.
Yeah.
No, not bankers.
No,
Really?
No, I rented a car. I went to the Walker Museum. I went to the zoo.
Uh-huh.
So when I wasn't in class or, in the different seminars, I was exploring the city.
Right. It was a nice place.
Yep. Yeah.
So you got back and you had a second date. And at what point in all of this did you all decide, or have you ever decided that you were really going to be together, make a life of it?
Yeah, he needed a place to stay when when the heat went out in his apartment here in Rhinecliff. Actually,
isn't that convenient?
It was quite convenient.
And in my mind, Spiro's the kind of guy who knows a lot about furnaces.
I would
and
imagine
heat
that
stuff.
he would be. Yeah, yes, yeah.
So all
So
of a
he
sudden, he's like, "Oh, my heat's out."
Right.
And
yeah.
all my friends have
have no
locks in their door.
friends.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So he moved in temporarily in right around Thanksgiving or hunting season of
Hunting
1986.
season for him.
Yeah. And never moved out.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're still waiting?
Well, I'll tell you, I think that a good relationship, a healthy relationship, does balance on being independent and not having your wings clipped.
Right.
So he travels a bit, He was not only working in the city as a manufacturer's rep, but he worked for, I know I'm going to get it wrong, he worked for the ski industry. And so he was what you'd call a course homologator. And he...
A course what?
Homologator. I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably have that wrong too. But he helped build jump sites for freestyle events.
Cool.
Yeah. So he would do that. And so there was a healthy balance of being together and being apart.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess it's healthy. What did you say, 39 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just amazing. And I'm guessing also he's an avid skier.
Yeah, very much so.
And do you ski?
I started skiing when I was 16, took a break for a while, and our first Christmas, there were boots and skis and poles underneath the Christmas tree.
I love that.
Yeah, so.
And so he took you out to teach you how to ski?
Yeah, we had to learn again. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And, yeah, we've been skiing ever since.
That's great. And where do you like to go around here?
Now, Hunter's a little too tough. I think, it gets a little congested on weekends and such. But now that I'm retired, we can ski weekdays. So we'll go to Jimny or up to Vermont. But I would have to say, with all due respect, that I really enjoy skiing out west.
Oh, yeah?
Utah, yeah.
Utah.
Yep. Yeah.
So he went with some friends?
No, we have a lot of friends out in Utah. He went to school there. To college there. So so we still have a group of friends that live in Logan, Utah, and kind of congregate during the ski season to ski a family-run ski area called Beaver Mountain.
Beaver Mountain?
Beaver Mountain, yep.
Huh, that sounds kind of idyllic.
Yes, it is. It really is.
And you get out there almost every year?
Yeah, March, I'll go out with him. Yeah. Yeah.
So you said now that you're retired, how long have you been retired?
Today marks a year and a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
1 year, 1 month, 2 days, and 8 hours.
Right, just about, yeah.
Yeah, but I knew you when you were gainfully employed. You always seemed to be a happy person. Yeah. Has that how have you changed since you retired?
Mind everybody who's listening, I loved what I did. I loved helping people.
Well, it seemed to.
Yeah, the analytic aspect of it, seeing people literally meet their goals, if I could help them with that. But when you're that involved and entrenched in your career, you don't necessarily, I didn't have the capacity to take care of myself.
Okay.
So I've just found myself to be a little bit healthier. Just focusing a little bit more on de-stressing. So,
right.
Spending more time working out.
And you were a certified financial planner.
Yep, still am. Mm-hmm.
Or you still are?
Yep.
Are you still doing that sort of for some clients?
I can't. Yeah.
No, but you maintain the certification?
Yeah. I think it was hard enough to get that I don't want to let it go.
So you have to sort of like re-up or take a quiz or something every year? Or?
You have to take I think it's 30 credits.
Oh, okay.
And I have to take them by May of this year.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Yeah.
And how many of you do you have under your belt already of those 30?
Big old goose egg.
Well, so is that not the source of some stress?
I have a really good proctor and a gentleman who helps people like me for a living. So he'll be helping me with my studies and with my tests.
How does he define people like you?
Probably a pain in the ass.
So he specializes. I'm looking for somebody like that.
Yeah.
He specializes in helping pains in the ass maintain their certified financial planner certification.
Yeah, their CE credits as a stockbroker, licensed insurance agent, CFP.
Oh, so you've got a bunch of certifications.
I'm maintaining my licenses so that if I ever had to go back, then I wouldn't have to take all those courses again.
Right.
Yeah.
How many licenses are there?
I like 3 or 4.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And if you do have to go back, isn't that a terrible advertisement for your services?
Well, thank you for that. Thank you.
Not just because that's what you do, right? You help people to get to where they want to be.
Yes.
And I guess to be able to stay there after they retire.
Exactly. Yeah. So this would have to be a very unique situation.
I'm knocking on wood. I
Yeah,
hope
I'll
that
knock
doesn't
too.
happen. Yeah.
So it would be very unique. It's just not something I would want to have to go through again.
Right.
So if I can if I can simply just keep my credits up, then it's a heck of a lot easier than failing my CFP exam for the first time and then sobbing hysterically in the post office when I opened the envelope, and then having to go through the testing cycle again.
So the first time you took it, you failed it?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is it a long exam? Is it? I mentioned
It's a 2-day exam, so maybe not a total of 16 hours, but it may have changed over the years. But it's a series of like 5 or 6 different modules based on the financial planning practice, and then at the end, after you've taken all of those courses and passed those exams, then you take a final exam. And it's just one of those things where if you second guess yourself, you're going to be crying in the Rhinebeck post office. So
it's a sad scene.
it is. It was. It was.
So you said 5 or 6 different modules. What are some of those modules?
Boy, oh boy. Well, there's retirement planning. There's
Right.
protection
Which
planning.
you're really good at.
Well, I'd like to think I
Yeah.
did well. Retirement planning, protection planning, estate planning.
What is protection planning?
Life insurance, disability insurance. You can have the best, laid out plans, but if something catastrophic happens, it can
Right.
compromise everything, not only for oneself, but for their family or their loved ones.
Right.
So, yeah. So, it's
Okay.
interesting stuff. It's important.
Right.
I felt it was a very important job to have because it sounds corny, but I really want to help people. And it just suited both sides of my kind of Gemini brain of,
And can you put names to those two sides?
Yeah, I had likened it at one point in time in an article that Mary Beth Kale did.
Yeah.
That, one side is kind of like cooking and the other side is baking. And cooking is to me more like, you've got to make a meal. You've got, I know chefs would probably think it's the opposite. But with cooking, it's like, here are your ingredients and you're going to stick to the plan and you're going to make, I don't know, soup. But with baking, you can get a little bit more, for me, it was a little bit more creative.
Right.
So the analytics side of me loved being a financial advisor and a CFP. But then there's the creative side of, painting and gardening and writing and, knitting and, all of those things
Do you do all of those?
Poorly, but yes. So,
Who says poorly?
well,
I've seen your garden, at least. That looks pretty.
yeah, it's
So
a
there's
labor of love.
Some successes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
knitting.
I didn't wear any of
I'm
my...
looking at your sweater.
Yeah, no.
It's a nice sweater, by the way. And writing.
Yeah.
What kinds of things do you like to write?
Prose. I just at one point in time, as I think a lot of people do when they say that they're going to retire, that they're going to have this second career where they're just going to blow everybody out of the water. And so I was going to become a famous author and I was going to write the American novel. And got smacked around by by myself and just said, wait a minute, this is not what I want to do. So now, because there isn't as much noise with regard to my creative side, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd wake up and I would think, okay, well, Jane Doe said that she really needs a car, but she really doesn't have the money for it. So how can we, get her that car because she needs to get to work or,
Right.
whatever it might be, or estate planning or what we would call triage if, a family member needed some kind of care and the families not only struggling with the fact that a loved one needs care, but now they have to try and figure out how to pay for it.
Right.
That's what was always swimming around in my head.
Right.
So now there's this huge empty space that is now allows for just more creative writing, and it'll just pop into my head, different things.
Oh,
So,
that's fun.
yeah.
And are they fiction or nonfiction? Or little essays or?
They're just like little poetry, I guess you'd call it. It's just, I don't.
And the book is happily on some other burner and some other.
Oh, it's not even on a burner. It's been shredded and put in the burn pile. So.
The burn pile.
Right. Yeah.
It's on a floppy disk
composting.
somewhere.
Yes.
Oh, good. Composting. Yay.
Yeah.
Well, you're a village resident, so you're probably part of that village composting thing.
Actually, I'm not. I think it's fabulous.
Right.
But however, I do have my own composting bin.
Oh, right.
And so I've got a pretty nice setup tucked away in the back of the yard.
And do you get critters visiting your composting bin?
Not as much. Actually, no. I mean, the only time we had a critter enter the composting bin was I had a yellow jacket hive that had built its nest in the bottom part of the bin, and one day I went out there and a skunk had just destroyed it, because I guess skunks eat larvae or whatever they called. So,
Good.
So it was a good encounter. The only encounter that we've really had was a couple of years ago on my birthday in the morning, when we had a bear that took down all of my bird feeders. So
Right.
yeah, but that's almost kind of common now in Rhinebeck, in the village.
To see bears?
Yeah, I mean, not not like walking down the street, but on trail cameras or Ring or whatever.
Right.
So
Yeah, I've never seen a bear in Rhinebeck.
okay.
Huh. Yes, see a lot of skunks though.
Yeah, skunks. Fox.
You see foxes on Mount Rutson.
Okay, yeah.
That's like every 10th time I'm on Mount Rutson, I see a fox.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I always feel so lucky for some reason to see foxes.
Oh, might be your spirit animal.
Maybe so.
So.
And do you believe in that kind of stuff, the spirit animal stuff?
I believe that we're not necessarily the smartest thing going as far as the human race is concerned, and that we probably don't know. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. That I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I just think that there's a lot more to the animal world.
Right.
When we look at the animal world, we look at them through our lens.
Right.
And we don't, and so we put feelings on them, their mannerisms, we attach them to our mannerisms. But I haven't finished it yet because I'm a really slow reader, but there's a book called Beyond Words. And don't ask me the author, but it goes into how animals speak, and they have their own cultures. They have their own. If we use the word feelings, then we're kind of humanizing them. But
right.
But yeah, I do have a feeling that, similar to you, that if I see a great blue herring, I always feel like that's a good day for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you see many great blue herons? I mean, think of them sort of near the water.
Right. Yeah. We'll actually see them fly over our house periodically, simply because you've got Crystal Lake and such. So yeah, it's a special bird to see.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
And do you get out in nature often?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We do own about 20 acres of land outside of Rhinebeck. And Spiro has done an amazing job of making it a park.
Right.
And so,
But he's clearing the less desirable trees, the invasive species, that kind of thing.
yep. And that's just, it's an ongoing process. And so we have the opportunity to hike that land.
Nice.
And, as well as all the properties or the parks that we have around here.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are some of your favorite public hikes in this area?
Yeah. So, Vlai Marsh, Mills Mansion, Norrie Point. I mean, we've got them all. Ferncliff Forest. I mean, it's really amazing what they've done. I mean, it's a wonderful place. I call it a fanny lifter. Drayton Park, Burger Hill.
A fanny lifter?
Yeah, it's a joke. Girls won't understand it for the tush. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
A fanny lifter.
Yeah,
to
'cause
get
it's
out
just
there.
straight up.
I see.
Yeah.
To walk. I mean, I guess it's like a Stairmaster.
Yeah, yeah,
Burger Hill's a little bit like that, climbing Burger Hill.
exactly. Yeah.
Always gets my heart going.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I know. I need more of that. And do you travel for hikes?
Oh yeah. If
Spiro an enthusiast too?
he's more hiking, or skiing and such.
Right.
One of the reasons that I love going to Iceland is because I love hiking there, and getting out, and whether it's trails or glaciers or lava fields.
Wow. How many times have you been?
So far 2, and I'm already booked for a third trip this year.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
how long will you go for?
It's between 7 to 10 days. I don't really, after right around 10 days, I start to get the itch to get back home.
Right. And is there something in particular that you're itching to get back to, or just sort of home?
Yeah, just home.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're going soon for like a week or so. Will Spiro accompany?
No, it's a girls' trip.
Girls, who are you going with?
Well, I have a girlfriend who owns an ecotourism company.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and she does trips for women, and so it's just a nice way to go meet some new people and explore a different place.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds great. And how many people will be on this trip?
There'll probably be around 10 women.
Yeah. That's a good sized trip.
Yeah.
And everybody's signing up for hiking.
Well, it's the first trip to Iceland, for lack of a better way to put it, I was a scout with the owner of the business.
Okay.
And the way I likened it, because she's about, 25 years younger than me, if she didn't kill me by the end of the day, then she added it to the trip. So we went horseback riding, we went glacier hiking, we hiked lava fields, we went sea kayaking. We did a lot in, I think, around 10 days. And then from that, she built a trip. And I've been on a lot of different trips with her. So this year, 24, I went on one of the trips that she created from our scouting. And then in September, the trip I'm going on is a knitting trip to Iceland.
A knitting trip to Iceland.
Yeah.
And where else does she take people on these trips?
I've been to Trinidad and Tobago. I've been to the Galapagos Islands. I've been to Isle Espirito in the Sea of Cortez.
Wow. And what's the name of her
Alaska.
organization? Let's give her a plug.
Oh, yeah, Green Adventures, so ED.
Green ED Ventures.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
not Adventures, it's
Right.
Adventures.
Yeah. Yep,
That's-
she does trips for women my age, but younger too. And then also for schools, for, high school and colleges. But she goes amazing places, and the nice thing is that it's educational too.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. And so what kinds of things do you like to knit?
To what?
Knit.
Knit?
Yeah.
Well, it's
You
still
said
new
you're going
to
to a
me.
knitting
yeah.
trip
Well, I'm
to-
learning how
I
to
see.
knit so that I don't look like a fool when I go on this trip.
Love that.
So I just finished a hat last night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And, scarves, a lot of scarves. There was one point where I was knitting scarves, and I think people were running away from me because they thought I was going to give them one. It's kind of like the zucchini
Right.
of wool.
I was going to ask, do you raise a zucchini
Yeah,
too?
I say I can't grow a zucchini for the life of me.
Oh,
So,
well, that's lucky.
yeah.
What do you grow many vegetables or fruits back there?
Yeah, I grow, I think the one thing that I love the most is garlic. I don't know how long I've been growing garlic, but let's just say maybe 10 years. And it was always just this big mystery thing. People grew garlic. And then actually a client of mine befriended me. And one year he gave me, for Christmas, a bunch of garlic. And then he kind of coached me through growing it. And it's just a wonderful 4-season type of, experience. Because in the winter now, it's tucked in there, and in the spring, you'll get the garlic scapes, and it's just a nice year-round project.
Right.
Yeah.
So I go to the farmer's market. You get a head of garlic.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a bunch of little cloves.
Yep.
What do you plant the cloves?
Yes. Yeah. So you split out. Well, hopefully, what you do is from your year's harvest, you take the best ones, which is kind of hard because those are the ones you want to use. And you take those and you split them apart, so you've got the bulb, you split them apart to the clove, and then you plant the cloves. You used to have to plant them in, let's say, October, but now you can plant them in November, just because of the way seasons are changing. So,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that becomes a bulb of garlic.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds very simple.
Yeah, it is.
But what were the tips that this former client gave you for how to raise them well?
Well, just spacing and how to take care of them. Mulching in the wintertime and when's a good time to harvest them, and the point about using the best bulb for the following year.
Right.
So,
So how many cloves have you put into your garden last November, say?
yeah. So I don't have a big plot of garlic. That's what Suzanne is for at Green Owl.
Right.
But I probably have like 50 bulbs or 50 cloves that will grow into bulbs.
Right.
So, and that's enough.
And how many of those actually come up?
They all will come up. It really just depends on the shape and let's say the strength of them. So, but I'll use them all. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So they all like bear fruit, so to speak. They all
Right. They all
become
evolve into
head.
a bulb. Yeah.
And when you're planting the bulb, do you need to take sort of the skin off, or do you just put the whole thing in there?
Oh, you want to put it in with the skin.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there a particular reason? Does that protect it against cold or bugs or disease or?
Because I was told to. So, I follow rules if
And
you don't know.
it seems to be working out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of following rules, how did you get into the financial universe?
I had been working as a staff accountant for Van Nostrand and Houlihan here in town, and I was kind of over tax returns and pizza for like the entire month of March and April.
Right.
Really great people to work for, and I went to a panel at presentation at Marist College, where they had a panel of certified financial planners just kind of speaking about their careers and such. And I decided to go because I was kind of in more of an exploratory phase as far as careers are concerned. And there was one woman sitting on the panel. And I remember to this day sitting there looking at her and going, I want to be her.
Wow.
And she wound up being a colleague of mine, too.
Right.
So we shared.
So she's heard this story.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah.
How wonderful.
Yeah. Yep. She really was created an influence for me because it is such a male-dominated career path and profession.
Right.
Yeah.
But that must be changing.
I think it is. I think women are becoming, well, I'm saying that from my generation, but it's clear that the younger generations are more empowered, let's say.
Right.
That
Good.
there aren't any boundaries anymore. and that if a woman or a young woman wants to do something, it just seems like there's more courage for them to go and support for them to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit less resistance to them entering those fields.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I remember going to conferences as a CFP, having a pretty darn healthy practice, and we'd be waiting in line for lunch or something like that. And a male advisor would ask me to go get some tea or coffee because they thought that I was somebody's assistant.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I would go get the tea or coffee, though.
You would?
Yeah.
That is so needlessly sweet.
Well, now the joke's on them. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you say a thriving practice. How many clients did you have when you retired?
about 500 households.
Wow.
Yeah.
And why the
was
distinction
really blessed.
households and client?
I'm sorry?
Why the distinction between a household and clients?
Well, a household would be like a husband and wife.
Right.
Or partners,
Right.
I was really blessed to be able to work with a lot of not-for-profits. So helped to manage, foundation money or trusts. Did a lot of work with folks that had family trusts.
Right.
So in that environment, it would be one household, but there might be 3 trustees, or there might be 4 board members, or
Right.
so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so back to this conference, you saw this woman on the panel CFP, and you're like, I want to be her.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of questions about that. But first, this one, at some point in your career, did a light bulb go off and you're like, oh, I'm there. I am her, that dream position I wanted to be in. I'm there. Did you have this self-realization? Because I think those moments often pass unnoticed by people.
Yeah, I would have to say that it definitely was not. It just never really sunk in.
Right.
Because there's the Protestant work ethic that's involved here. And so I always felt, in a healthy way, that I could do better. But better wasn't necessarily based on the number of clients or my book, of investments that I help people invest. But it had more to do with who else can I help. And even as I say it, it sounds corny, but there was such a good feeling about being able to help people in arenas that they might not be able to help themselves with. And
Right.
some of it is so much common sense, but they just need somebody to kind of hold them by the shoulders and point them in the right direction.
Right.
So, and I was happy to do that.
All right. So back to the panel. You decided you wanted to do that. Was there a lot of training in school and stuff too?
Well, yes. So that's where Maggie and Tim, who are the partners at Van Nostrand and Houlihan, were very supportive.
Which was an accounting kind
It's
of
accounting firm, CPA
Okay.
firm. Yeah, and
Were you a CPA?
no, actually, I was going for my CPA in the midst of all of this,
Right.
and I was going to New Paltz. And I remember I was in one taxation and finance class that was being taught by an ex-Fed Reserve employee.
Nice.
And I remember sitting in the back of the classroom crying. So I just put my head down on the desk, and I was definitely able to absorb it, but it was just, why am I doing this? Why,
Right.
This isn't the direction that I want to go in. But so we got that got pushed aside. And that was one of the reasons that and it's going to sound like a pitch, but that I started with Ameriprise, because Ameriprise has a really great training program.
And how did you find them?
Well, they're local, they're just, well, actually the gal that was on the panel
Right.
was at Ameriprise also.
Okay.
So I figured, all right, well, let's follow in her footsteps.
Did you speak to her after the panel?
I didn't, and it was a couple of years later that we reconnected, and then, she definitely had a healthy practice, and I'm looking to say she didn't mentor me where she, was like a weekly thing, but I definitely knew that her wing was, that I could get underneath her wing if I needed to.
How sweet.
Yeah, it was great.
So how did you approach Ameriprise? Like, Hi, my name is Vicki Haak. I want to work for y'all.
Yeah, it's a longer story than.
We still have 4 hours left of this interview. So go ahead.
Get another bottle of wine.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this wine, by the way.
Yeah.
It's really delicious. And there's a nice snake on the label.
Yeah, you're the snake. Like
As we
were
talk
talking
about you shedding the skin of the CPA and
right. Yeah.
slithering
That's
into
that's
certified
great
financial
metaphor.
planning.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
How did you hook up with Ameriprise?
Oh, right.
You
So
said they were
that's-
local and that this gal worked
Yeah.
there. And
So as I said, that's the other 4 hours. But I was fortunate enough to become part of a team of Ameriprise advisors, and then Ameriprise was supportive in all the education. So that's where I had to get my licenses for insurance, as a stockbroker, etc. So they provided those services, and then I chose to become a CFP because I felt that, again, as a woman in what I thought was a male-dominated industry, that having those 3 letters after my name just added another level of justification. I don't know what the right word would be.
Right.
So, and not that, I mean, there are a lot of great advisors and stockbrokers and, investment wealth managers out there that aren't CFPs. And,
Right.
so it was my choice to do that.
So you finished all the training.
Yep.
You took the test. You failed it. You cried at the post office.
Yeah.
You took the test again.
To see.
And then what? Did you hang up a shingle somewhere?
Well, I was already an advisor because
Okay.
it was 2 stages. There's the stage of getting all of my regulatory licenses, and then I chose a while later to get my CFP once I kind of, because
Okay.
with the CFP you have to have a certain number of years under your belt as an advisor, and you have to have a certain level of education and such,
Right.
in addition to not failing the test.
And so did your first client come to you through people you knew or through Ameriprise? Or
I knew them. They were my mom and dad. So
I love that. I'd love to see the percentages. Like
Yeah.
how many people start off their career with an investment from mom and dad?
right, yeah, and
How sweet.
I really felt blessed because a lot of my friends were very supportive,
Right.
and so they, I guess we want to say, believed in me, and I wanted to be able to help them. So and then you just build on that. You build on referrals and
Right.
such. I never wanted to go out there and quote unquote advertise. So a lot of the sponsorships that I did were beneficial, but
Right.
the goal was to support our local organizations, not to make it my advertising strategy.
Right.
So,
Huh. I mean,
Yeah.
I do see ads like in Living Rhinebeck magazine
right,
or
yeah,
wherever.
yeah. I mean, that when Mary Beth and Tom Kale were approached me that they were going into, that they wanted to do Living Rhinebeck, and
Right.
I believed in them so much because they believed in me that it was like, yeah, I'm doing it. And so I would have to say that you're right. That's an ad, but it's deeper than that.
But also you're a writer for them. as
Well,
right?
yes, and all of that writing has to go through Ameriprise as far as compliance is concerned.
Oh,
So what you might be presenting isn't necessarily the end result, but that protects the consumer. It protects the investor.
so are you still somehow under the aegis or the umbrella of Ameriprise despite being retired?
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you still write for Living Rhinebeck magazine?
no, that's Carrie now. Carrie is the young woman that took over my practice.
Oh,
And
sweet.
yeah, I tell you,
So she inherited or got 500 households
Yes.
who had the option to stick with her after having you for 30 years or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
What percentage of those households chose to stay?
I'm going to say probably 99%.
That's
And the
amazing.
folks, this is how great my clients were
Right.
and are, because I still call them my clients. I think that there were folks that were kind of recognized that maybe we weren't a good fit. We were doing the right things for them, that the client and I weren't a proper fit,
Right.
but they were too kind and generous. It wasn't going to compromise their wealth or their plans or anything like that, but something wasn't clicking, that they used my transition out as a passive way to, maybe go on to their cousin's kid's girlfriend, who is now an advisor.
I love those people for
Yeah.
being
Well, they
so
were just, yeah.
kind-hearted and caring and
Yeah.
sensitive to all that.
Yeah. So, Carrie took over the practice, just blessings on all sides. And I'm not, when I say blessings, I mean it from more of a holistic standpoint.
Right.
That the landlord, Howie Trout, honored my lease, which was fabulous,
Nice.
and honored it for Carrie.
Thank you, Howie.
Yeah, the Celeste and Sue, who were my employees, my team, stayed on board and are still there a year and 1 month later.
Right.
Mary Beth and Tom honored my contract with Living Rhinebeck for Carrie. And the Rhinebeck Chamber of Commerce was really very proactive and generous in helping us transition as far as getting the word out there to the community.
So you transition, I assume, and she got your book. She got all these 500 households.
Correct.
I assume that you continue to get some small percentage of
There are different.
the action.
There are different ways of calculating that and negotiating a succession plan.
Right.
Yeah.
How long does this succession plan continue to put money in or is this proprietary information?
Well, if I tell you, I have to kill you. So.
Well,
And then I got to go find out everybody that's
how
listening to
soon
this
do you have
thing.
to kill me after you tell me? Because it was like 40 years, so that's okay.
No, right. Yeah. No. It was right for everybody.
Right.
Yeah, it really was right, because you don't want to create a situation where the person that's taking over your baby, in a sense,
Right.
fails or is struggling. And the exact opposite has happened. She's thriving. She also has a practice in Arlington, across from Vassar College.
Nice.
And her practice has grown, and all referral. And it's wonderful that our community is embracing her, because she deserves to be embraced.
Right. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Now, you said something really hit me earlier. You were talking about your clients,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd wake up at 3 a.m. thinking like, so-and-so really needs a new car, but they can't afford a new car. How can we help them
Yeah.
meet this financial goal?
Yeah.
And in my mind, the people who have certified financial planners are high net worth households.
Yes.
And here you describe somebody who's having trouble buying a new car. You can get a new car for like, a decent one for a few grand.
Right.
So you had many clients who were not high net worth, who were sort of like me, like living day to day, like having trouble paying all their bills in a given month?
At one point in my life, I was that person.
Right.
When I moved into Rhinebeck, I was charging my rent. I was going to the bank that I worked at, getting cash advances on my credit card so that I could pay my rent. So I felt I owed it to that. I owed it to the people that might not be where they really want to be,
Right.
but could get there someday.
Right.
Not that it was, that I was laying the groundwork for somebody to, win the lottery and then, Vicki's got to be my advisor, not that kind of a thing.
Right.
But I just felt a moral obligation to helping those folks, because nobody would have wanted me as a client.
Right.
And then I also had the good fortune of working with the folks that you're talking about,
Right.
or referenced, the high net worth clients that had gobs of wealth.
Right.
It's a technical term.
Right.
So
That's right. It's on the next exam.
right, exactly.
Well, God bless you for that. I mean, that's
No.
such a sweet answer.
Yeah, but I'm not. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm not sweet. So,
Well,
you know what I mean? It just,
people say that all the time, and yet
Yeah.
their actions show a certain sweetness.
Yes. Okay.
And you can do it because it's logical, because
Yeah,
it makes
no.
the community better, because you're paying it back, whatever.
Yeah.
It seems sweet.
Yes.
And you seem sweet.
Wow.
And doing that sweet. You also seem very dedicated to the service of your community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is amazing. When I sort of looked you up on Google, and it's freaking nuts. All the organizations, and I can read some of them here, that you have been a part of, been on the board of, or donated to, or hosted fund, or whatever. Rhinebeck Crew, Rhinebeck Farmers Market, Rhinebeck Science Foundation, Sinterklaas, Rhinebeck Cemetery, Omega, Community Foundations, the Hudson Valley, Give Where You Live, Astor, Upstate Films, Dutchess Community College, Rhinebeck Area Chamber of Commerce, Winnakee, Morton Memorial Library, Center for Performing Arts, Southlands, Wilderstein, and it goes on and on. But it left me wondering, why do you hate the Aerodrome Museum? What about them? Doesn't seem like you helped them out at all. Yeah.
Well, I think years ago I had.
I had a hunch.
However,
I had a hunch I would be
right.
corrected.
Right. Yeah. There's the Hudson Valley Raptor Center. You know, I mean, there's in the early days.
Right.
You know, there were. I don't
Which
think
is
that
out
we
there
didn't have Google.
out there in Mineland?
Well, it had been. It had been. It folded many years ago.
Okay.
And property got sold. The birds all went to a Raptor Center, I think, in Berkshires.
Right.
But I would have to say that it was the community that gave me the opportunity to succeed or not succeed. And so in my success, I not only wanted to, but I needed to give back.
Right.
You know,
And
so that's, and that was my venue. The opportunity to do it was by supporting different organizations.
And you've given back like mad. It's been a whole lifetime of service and generosity. You said not niceness, but
Right. Yes.
it plays out that way.
Yeah.
And where did that come from? This sort of like idea of service.
And I think I grew up that way. And, you know, I was the oldest of 4 girls. You know, my mom and dad were, you know, definitely, you know, generous, let's say, maybe not financially, but with their time as they could be. And then just thinking about it, my dad's mom, my grandma Haak, there was always somebody at the dinner table. There was always an Uncle Al or an Uncle John or, you know, whatever. So when we would go to Long Island in the summertime and stay with my grandmother, there was always someone that needed help.
Right.
And they sat at my grandmother's table. And it just made me think about something. That table sits in my dining room.
Oh,
So,
that is
wow.
so sweet.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So thank you for giving me that memory. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
wonderful. And thank you for coming in here and sharing all of your memories.
Yeah.
We are out of time. It
Oh.
always goes so quickly.
Yeah. Gosh. Well,
yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
I want to say one more thing. We got 5 seconds. The Donald W. Haak Memorial Scholarship Fund.
Yeah.
Something you set up for your
Yes.
dad.
Yeah.
Funds people at DCC.
Right.
Right. And,
Yes.
and if people wanted to donate to that, they could go to the DCC website and find their way to that.
Yeah. My dad worked in the for IBM
Right.
as in the flight operations.
Right.
And so now the airport, Dutchess County Airport, has a course.
Right.
And
Well,
okay.
Well,
Sorry.
what a treat that the financial planner could set up this fund.
Yeah,
in
thank
memory of
you.
your pup. Thanks for coming in, Vicki Haak.
right.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Have a fabulous Friday and a wonderful weekend. Thanks, Jen Hammoud. And thanks, Patricia Wind, if you're listening, for letting us be here. Good night.